I'm Tracy Moody, the Communications and Content Officer with the City of Moose Jaw, and today I'm joined by Bevan Harlton, our Director of Operations. Thanks for joining us today, Bevan.
Hi, Tracy.
Today we wanted to talk about the Paved Roadways project and paving in general in Moose Jaw. So could you start off by giving us an overview of what the Paved Roadways project is and what is its scope?
The road renewal program is pretty straightforward. What the focus is for road renewal is getting the road rebuilt, and then connected with that, we seek to have a walk down the sidewalks and get the sidewalk replaced and repaired as required as well. So the intent is we'll come into your neighborhood, refresh the sidewalk, refresh the road, and get out of there leaving you with a new driving surface.
And the city is responsible for maintaining about 227 kilometers of paved roadway infrastructure, and that includes roads of various ages and classes. Could you tell us the main issues that affect road conditions in Moose Jaw and how we decide where we're going to pave on a yearly basis?
Sure. So we're allocated enough money from our annual capital budget to do about 4 kilometers a year. And what we need to do with that, that limited amount is to focus on the roads that are in the worst condition and the roads that need work most. So locations are evaluated according to a criteria called pavement condition rating. And all that is just how does that road look and how does it drive? So every block is given a pavement condition rating. We have got target pavement condition ratings for our arterials, our major collectors, our minor collectors, and our local roads. So we go through all of that and are able to determine obviously a whole slew of locations that require work. So from there, we'll take that potential list and we'll go talk to our primary stakeholder. And our primary stakeholder is transit, and it's our roadway staff. And it's transit because our operators are on the road using the routes, and it's roadways because those are the men and women that are out doing pothole repair and keeping our roads in order until we can come and renew them. So those are the drivers, those are the primary drivers that feed into the road renewal program. However, for the city of Moose Jaw, we're still working through cast iron water main replacement, and that program now is called infrastructure renewal. And the reason why that's important is because we are trying to avoid locations where we have known capital work needed underground. We want to get that work done before we pave the road. And there is certain instances where that underground work isn't in a 10-year horizon. And we are looking at locations that can be paved with future cast iron replacement potentially. However, by and large, if we know we've got infrastructure issues below that road, we prioritize that work now, and we're trying to get that work done so we can renew the road. The reason why that's important, Tracy, is because that wasn't the case up to a few years ago. And the reason that wasn't the case is because our water main breaks were so overwhelming. So we were up to 120 water main breaks a year, 109 water main breaks a year. That meant that what drove infrastructure renewal was just breaks. We had to get to those locations. We had to replace that water main. We're now down to about 40 water main breaks a year. And as we continue plugging away on that program, it's going to reduce and reduce and reduce. That means since 2023, 2024, we've been able to consider road condition with our water main replacement. And that's been a big turn. So that's what drove the replacement on Fairford right by City Hall. It was a big driver on the work on Main Street that occurred just north of Manitoba over by River. It's a big driver on why 5th Avenue Northwest was prioritized this year. So it's really important to note that, because what we can't do is spend taxpayer dollars on a piece of road where we have to go back afterwards and cut that road for city infrastructure. While I'm talking about undergrounds, I do want to note homeowners and business owners have the allowance to replace their private services at their own discretion, and so should they. What has happened in the past is we have had replacements occur after infrastructure renewal and road renewal locations occur. And while we all have that right to replace our service, what can happen then is that fresh road is being cut. So we are trying to avoid that. How we're trying to avoid that is being more proactive on communicating with residents. We're getting letters in front of residents to let them know that their block, their home is being considered for a future road renewal or a future infrastructure renewal program. And what we're trying to do is allow homeowners time to make that decision to have their service replaced so that after we come through, we're not having to cut that road again. So I do want to note that's a challenge for the city of Moose Jaw. It's a challenge because there's a perception that the city is returning to that location for those cuts, and that's not the case. That said, we are trying to be proactive with our communications to avoid those instances.
And when you say cuts, could you explain for residents what that looks like on the roads? Because I feel like sometimes people have seen those, but they don't necessarily make that connection between what that looks like and what it represents.
Absolutely. And I'm going to do this in a really direct way. What I would define a cut is when you see a trench that's running perpendicular to the road. That's your giveaway. If you come by a location and you can see a trench or you can see work that runs perpendicular to the road, that's a service. And by service, I mean that's a water line coming in towards a property or a sanitary line coming in towards a property. And that's your indicator. That's what I would call a cut.
And sometimes people will see those areas on the road that are gravel, and then later on they will be topped with asphalt. Can you explain why that happens? Why asphalt isn't put over it immediately?
Sure. Couple different reasons for that. There are times where home and business owners have to do service work in the winter, and for obvious reasons. If you have issues with your sanitary, if you have issues with your water, there's times where you just need to get it fixed. In those winter conditions, we can't pave the road, and we shouldn't pave the road. And so what happens at those times is cold mix is brought up to get the road drivable. And then come spring or summer, we need to return to that location, dig it down, put in a road structure, and pave it. Another time that you'll see that is just the coordination of work. And that's your undergrounds work occurring, getting the service connection done, getting that trench brought up, and then a period of time between that work being completed and the paving to be flagged and done.
And what are some of the different methods that we use when we're paving roadways? Because I think people are kind of familiar with the mill and pave, but there might be different things that we do as a part of Paved Roadways project.
Absolutely. So the different types of intervention points and the different type of work is connected to the pavement condition rating. So if we allow a road to go all the way down to a PCR, or a pavement condition rating of 2, that means a mill and pave won't work anymore. That means that road is shot right through the structure. So we still have limited locations where we are requiring to do a full road rebuild. Those are very intrusive and they're very expensive. That includes digging down a meter and a half, compacting the subgrade, putting in lifts of base and sub-base sand, and then paving that road. Below that is our mill and pave. And what we do right now is broadly, we do mill and paves. To complement that work, there's many locations where we do isolated deep repairs. So what you'll see along the road is a mill and pave, but we're actually going through and looking at that cross section and identifying locations where more intrusive fixes are required. So that's our primary right now, is a mill and pave supported with this isolated deep repair. In between that is all sorts of intervention points that public works and engineering are connecting on. And talking and revisiting and circling and closing in on. The big one in 2026 is that crack sealing, which has been a program managed by engineering in the past, is going to be undertaken by Public Works. And we are going to be renting some equipment, getting some training done. And this is work that Public Works can do, and it's work that Public Works will do. So below a mill and pave is an intervention called crack sealing, and that's something now that Public Works is gearing up to get done for the city. And I'm proud of those guys. That's what it means to challenge yourselves and to expand your services that you can offer for the community. As well, Public Works has connected with the RM. If folks are ever out at Cotto Street West, that was a joint job between the RM and the city where we utilized reclaim asphalt. City supplied reclaim asphalt, a free material for that project. We put down a layer of oil and we sealed that road up and compressed that material in, and by and large, Cotto looks great. There's all sorts of different things like thin overlays and chip seals, and a lot of different work that operations will put forward in time. And what that'll do is cover that gap. And the gap, Tracy, is the space between engineering doing a capital project and our men and women at Public Works trying to keep a road in order. And it's a challenge for our roadways team because our primary intervention from roadways is potholes. And there are still locations where we ask our Public Works staff to go out and do pothole repair, but it's past that point. And it's very easy to be critical of what operations is trying to get done to keep that road going, and rightly so. But the reality is that's a capital project problem. And once a road gets below a certain threshold, potholes are only going to hold it together so long.
Can you explain for people why we have that waiting period after infrastructure renewal comes through before we would do paving of the roads?
Yeah. So Moose Jaw sits on heavy clay. There's instances on the side slopes and all the different interesting things that Moose Jaw has where the soil's more loamy and there's some different challenges there. But by and large, the city rests on clay. And we compact our trenches back to a 98% density, and we test it at all times, daily, in our construction projects. However, you will never get that recompacted soil back to its in situ density. And by allowing it to settle, you're getting a drop of somewhere around like 2 to 4 centimeters per meter. So you're gonna move, that soil is gonna settle by about 2% across a period of a couple of years. There has been a lot of times where, let's say the water main's being replaced along a gutter, or it's not intrusive, where we'll come back and pave. But if any time we can help it, we prefer to allow that to happen. The big risk for settlement is the services. So that's those perpendicular cuts. And the reason they're a risk is it's a smaller trench. It's a smaller location that we're asking our contractors and our Public Works staff to get back compacted. As well, when those settle, that's when you see those dips. And we don't want those. That's not how we want the road left. Separating the infrastructure renewal program from the road renewal program is what has allowed us to give that road work, that paved road work, its full attention, as opposed to it being a byproduct of this cast iron job.
And if residents have questions or they want to report an area that has a pothole or where they're seeing dips in the road because of utility cuts, how can they report those issues?
The fastest way to get that information to operations is through our My Civic Report and Issue app, and that's a free service that the city has. You can find it online, or you can download the app onto your phone.
For sure, it's on moosejaw.ca and the free City of Moose Jaw app. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you'd like to share with the public?
What operations is focusing on right now is that gap between that primary capital project intervention point and all of the different things that city can do for you to keep that road together and to keep its condition as best we can. And a part of that is getting to locations before we see public works out there and putting down potholes at locations where it needs a capital project. So it's been a work in progress, and it's been rewarding, and it's been really interesting. I'm really proud of the work Roadways has done. I want to note, Tracy, that in 2026, our guys down at Public Works got 80 tons of recycled hot mix asphalt put down. That's 80 tons that before we had that asphalt recycler, that would have been gravel, reclaim asphalt, cold mix asphalt, whatever material we could find to get down and into that hole. That's 80 tons now. That is hot mix asphalt bound to that road and held down in place. 80 tons is 27 full loads of pothole trucks. That's what that is. So that recycler's coming in handy.
Awesome. You guys are doing good work over there.
Thank you.
That's all I had for you today. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks.